I don't think I'll ever be calling Sony a value brand, but if you look at the price to picture quality ratio that's happening this year, they're knocking it out of the park. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison. This is the Sony X950H review, one you have been waiting quite some time for. Sorry about that. Things are a little slow during a global pandemic. At any rate, we all know that the X950H promises really killer picture quality. It's the best LED TV that Sony's making in 2020. But just how good is it? That's what we're going to try and determine today. Let's dive in. So what does the X950H promise that other TVs in Sony's line don't have? Well, for one thing, backlight master drive. That is Sony's best backlight technology. So we expect it'll be brighter, we expect that it'll have better contrast, and we expect that it'll control blooming around bright objects on a black background a little bit better than some of the other TVs. We also expect it to look a little bit cleaner than the other TVs. It's got some extra processing in there, super bit mapping, for example, which promises to take low bit depth content, that's stuff that you might stream off of Netflix and other streaming services, and clean it up so that you don't have as many jaggies and sparklies in the picture. I'm also going to do something I don't normally do and test the sound of this TV because Sony put a lot of effort into making it sound as good as possible. There's a couple extra speakers in there, supposed to provide some sort of localization of sounds, kind of like the A8H OLED does by using its actual screen as the speaker. So we'll see how that works out. So how does it fulfill on the first promise of a better backlighting experience? I ran my usual barrage of tests with this TV and I was pleased to find out that in HDR mode, it topped out at about 1000 nits and it held that pretty steadily. In SDR, obviously the peak brightness is a little bit lower, although you can go into like vivid mode or standard mode and get a little bit more juice out of the TV if you want to. But yeah, HDR mode in the custom settings, I still got 1000 nits out of HDR and I think that's very, very good. Now, as for backlight uniformity, it's very, very good. Sony doesn't talk about how many zones their TVs have, and honestly, I don't feel like testing them because I'm seeing very smooth movement of the backlighting technology. And along with that, really great contrast. The blacks hold up well as you show bright objects over that black background. There's not a whole lot of halo happening there. So overall, the backlighting technology is as impressive as I was expecting. Sony's really got this thing down. As for color, it was very good out of the box in the custom preset mode. I did have to make some adjustments. It was a little heavy on the blue, and once I did, I got excellent color results, well below the threshold that you could detect with the eye. So from an accuracy standpoint, very, very good. And it did about 98% of the P3 color space, which is very respectable indeed. Screen uniformity, I'm less enthusiastic about. You can see here that in the corners, we've got a little bit of vignetting on the left and the right-hand side, and then there's this bar, this sort of strip down at the bottom, and I'm not really sure what that is. It's actually not terrible. I've seen much, much worse, but from Sony, for this much money, I kind of expected it to be a little bit cleaner. Motion is superb. That's one of the things that I feel like Sony does better than most. They have a very cinematic look to them, not only from their contrast perspective and color perspective, but the motion looks really great. 3.2 pull down, not a problem for this TV, so watch all the movies you want. You're not gonna suffer from any judder whatsoever. Now for the most smooth motion for sports, you could turn on the black frame insertion feature. We saw this with the X900H. It has different levels, so it doesn't darken the picture as much. So I think if you're in sports mode, you turn that on, you can get very smooth motion sports. The colors aren't gonna be great, but it'll still be plenty bright and really fun to watch. As for gaming, the TV is gonna be okay, but honestly, if gaming is a real priority for you, definitely go with the X900H. We'll talk about that in the verses a little bit later, but this TV I feel is for people who really enjoy watching content, not so much playing games. So let's talk about the sound quality that I mentioned earlier. Most TVs don't sound great. Sometimes they manage to coax some bass out of the TV at best. This TV definitely brings an enhanced sense of space to the table. By having those drivers at the top of the screen, it virtualizes surround sound pretty well. As for the fidelity of the sound, they could do a little bit better. I think the treble is a little bit aggressive and it's missing something in the middle, but it's definitely one of the better onboard TV sound experiences that you can have. So what don't I like about this TV? Well, other than the screen uniformity, not much. In fact, nothing. This TV does so many things very, very well, and it doesn't hit any pitfalls. I have zero complaints. The user interface is snappy enough for me. I can live with Android TV when it works like that. It definitely has that cinematic look that I think Sony fans are looking for. It definitely proves that 1000 nits of brightness is perfectly sufficient for HDR. And not only that, if you don't want that super bright look all the time, you can engage the feature that adjusts the gamma curve so that no matter how much light is in the room, the picture looks correct. I suppose if I dug really deep, I could complain that it doesn't have HDMI 2.1 features. Sony doesn't think that's necessary. Also, in a perfect world, picture quality like this could be available for a slightly lower price. As a reminder, the 65-inch is $1,700, the 55 is $1,200. I won't even go into how much the 85-inch model costs. But overall, I'm really pleased with this television. And I gotta say, if I compare this to the Samsung Q90T that we looked at before, and that review is not completely finalized because we think we may have had a slightly wonky model, this is looking like a better value. $1,700 versus $2,000 for a 65-inch. I think you save a little money, but you definitely don't give up on an experience. So this TV, absolutely fantastic. If you've been wondering about whether this is worth purchasing, yes, absolutely. Is it worth purchasing over the X900H though? That's a different video. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. What do you think about the X950H? Drop me a comment down below. Also, the LG C10 OLED, it's almost here. Like literally, it's almost here. And a bunch of other fun TVs are coming as well. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when we come out with a new video. And as always, visit digitaltrends.com for the latest tech news and reviews.